everybody. My name is Oliver Dodd, one of 3 co-directors based at the Study for the Centre of Social and Global Justice. Today, I'd like to welcome Bob Williams-Findlay, a disability activist and author from Birmingham. Bob has been a leading disability activist in Britain for 30 years and has written numerous articles on disability politics and social oppression, as well as 2 books. Bob's most recent book, published by Pluto Press in 2023, is titled Disability Praxis: The Body as a Site of Struggle. Bob is also the founder of Birmingham Disability Rights Group and the former chair of the national organisation British Council of Organisations of Disabled People. Bob has also been a keynote speaker at numerous conferences and has appeared on TV. Today's CSSGJ talk is titled Approaching Rest, Work and Activism Through the Lens of Disability Politics, Relationships and Contradictions. Bob, you have up to 45 minutes for your talk, which we will then follow with a Q&A. Over to you.
Okay, thank you very much. We're just about to put the slides up. My talk today is mainly signposting to these 3 areas of intervention and struggle. It's not me providing answers to how we should move forward. So let us begin. Next slide.
Just changing now, Bob. My computer's playing up. And there's a problem with not responding with the application. Let me just. Sorry about that. Yeah, so we should be on now. The application seems to be working. Over to you, Bob.
Okay. I can't see it at the moment.
Can you?
Oliver, we don't see a presentation.
Can you see
now
one?
It's there.
Yeah. If you start it.
That's it.
Right. Next, that's it. As Oliver has just said, in November 2023, Pluto Press published Disability Praxis, while referencing sites of struggle within the book. These sites I'm going to talk about were not discussed in detail. However, employing the core argument found within the book, I offered a presentation to the British Sociological Association Conference on Rest, Work and Activism. Today's discussion is an adaptation of that presentation. Next, a core argument within my book is that over the last 25 years, the lens of the disability policies have have become increasingly obscured. British activism from the early 1990s began to cut corners, and instead of reflecting upon what theories and framework would be most insightful for exploring the distorted social relationships different groups of disabled people face within capitalist societies, and the contradiction these create. The focus instead switched toward adopting a less radical, right-based approach, which sought accommodation within the status quo. This has stunted our analytical ability to address disablement, disableism, and further the meaning of emancipation in terms of social justice. I argue this resulted in the loss of the original transformative emancipatory approaches that were advocated. Next. Within my book, I suggest disability policy ought to be about changing existing social relationships. I assert that British disability politics and activism were rooted in four cornerstones. The fundamental principle of disability, the self-organisation of disabled people, the advocating of deinstitutionalisation and the promotion of self-directed living, and finally the development of a counter-hegemonic culture and political collective identity. Yet these are interconnected and form the foundation of disability policy in Britain and were influential worldwide. The interconnectedness stems from understanding that capitalist societies create disablement, resulting in social marginalization and exclusion. Thus, disabled people's lifestyles become sites of struggle. Next. By lifestyle, I'm referring to the ways in which a person lives, and in the process, consideration is given to the social relations they have, desire, and are also denied. Thus, we need to progress more activism as such a struggle within the context of both oppression and emancipation. Next. To fully understand and address disabled people's social oppression, want to suggest it is necessary to consider the argument aptly made, which is that there are significant dimensions which place disabled people in an inferior position to other members of society. That I really speak of how the disadvantages experienced by disabled people are directly related to what I'm referred to as the individual tragedy of approachable disability, which justifies and perpetuates their situation. Yeah. The historical materialist approach here in favour must therefore go beyond the viewing disability as simply being called by the economic interest within capitalist societies, and therefore incorporate other dimensions which has led to disabled people social exclusion. Yet disability is the imposition of social restrictions upon on top of impairment reality created from the structured system values, culture and practice of given society. Therefore, disableism is the acceptance and promotion of ideas and practice associated with dominant ideologies that present disability as the absence of normality, a state of inferiority, and the cause of perceived lack of social worth found within an individual. For example, a burden on society, lacking incapacity, etc. Yet, in my opinion, it is disableism which legitimates and creates disabled people and their established disability as a social situation. The encountered unequal and direct differential treatment caused by economic, political, social, and ideological influences on the structured system, value, culture, and practice of given society. Thus, they are disabled by society. In my opinion, disability policy are policies in opposition to disability. That is an imposed social restriction using a dialectical juxtaposition. The dialectics of disability are the contradiction, antagonism, and conflict arising from existing social relations between disabled and non-disabled people. A central feature of these directives is disabled people wanting to create a path to inclusion or integration into a society system that by very nature have both rejected and included them in a variety of ways. Yes. The absence of a social model of impairment has had a profound impact upon disability policy. It absent provides area of ambiguity regarding relations between impairment realities and encountered social environment. Having bodies and mind that are objectively non-conforming, the nature of impairment production and the material realities associated need to be factored into understanding disabled people's oppression. The existence of impairment is commonly naturalized, thus ignoring or playing down how the majority of impairment come into being through oppressive social relations, i.e. exploitation, conflict, ecological disasters. This is particularly prevalent in the global south. Acknowledging the existence and possibility of diverse lifestyles enable us to consider the nature of different sorts of struggle, such as the collective fight against disablement and disablism. The social political aspect of living with impairment is disabled a disabled micro level of society, and the tension surrounding the management of impairment reality often exercised through the power held by various professional bodies. Next. By introducing the often absent concept, I hope to contribute to reflecting upon existing and of future theories and framework. A difficulty in developing concepts and exploring the struggle is that we come up against how discursive domains influence things. A discursive domain, for example, class, gender, religion, or ethnicity, is where dominant discourses compete for ideological hegemony in an endless quest to fit meaning. This conception derived from one notion of ideology as a sign of struggle. The meaning of disability as a pressure being a prime example. Next. Today I am focusing on three sides of struggle. Rest. Rest is defined as the bodily state characterized by minimal functional and metabolic activity, or a state of motionlessness or inactivity. It is also defined as freedom from activity or labour. It is crucial to know that labour and work are not necessarily the same thing. Rarely do we see rest and impairment reality addressed beyond the medicalisation of both. Thus, negating rest as a political issue and a sign of struggle. How rest is viewed within capitalism is therefore oppressive. Amelia Hogan, in a piece entitled How We Rest is Shaped by How We Work, is fundamentally determined by relation of power. Ask the question, what might it mean to say that some part of everyday life is a political issue? She goes on to write, how about rest? Rest is often appreciated as the most natural part of the day, and as such, a universal and historically unvarying experience. But rest has also in recent times become an object of social concern and a source of personal anxiety and increasing attention is paid to the conditions that shape it. Buried here are dialectical questions disabled people and AI need to be discussed. What determines rest in today's disabled society for those seeking to manage impairment reality? I'll move on to work. Martha Russell in 2001 wrote, a primary source of oppression from a disabled person, those who could work with a reasonable accommodation, is the exclusion from capitalist exploitation. Many disabled persons are unemployed or underemployed against their will. The social condition of disablement is reproduced by oppressive social relations exercise for modes of production. Industrial capital imposed disablement on non-conforming bodies deemed less or not exploitable by the owners of the means of production. The prevailing rates of exploitation of labour determine who is disabled and who is not. Under neoliberalism, we have witnessed a shift in how the oppressive social relations exercised to the moment production have been managed. People once deemed unemployable are now redefined as capable of work. The last 30 years has seen countless interwork schemes called removing disabling barriers. Yet little attention is paid to the purpose of nation work, thus setting up the majority of disabled people to fail. The lack of purpose to work also remains problematic because of disability value based on the romanticized worker. This throws up a host of contradictions to deal with. And finally, activism. After a decade of trying to resist the primitive state, many disabled activists have withdrawn into comfort zone, trying to survive and intervene where possible. The demise of the disabled people movement has left a vacuum with no network of disabled people organizations making real headway in terms of shaping any disability political agenda. And also a disconnect between academics within disability studies, scholar activists, and ordinary disabled people. Globally, the factory of Disabled People International and the tensions between the global north and south in terms of envisioning both theory and practice have increased division and reinforced an international state of uncertainty. Although the situation bleak, now is the time for fresh dialogue around key aspects of theory and practice. See Invisible is an American disability justice-based performance project which published a working definition of disability justice in relationship to the disability movement. According to one of its co-founders, Patty Bird, a second wave of activists around 2005 noted the disability rights focus on litigation and bureaucracy often address symptoms but not root causes. Burns states one cannot look at the history of US slavery, the stealing of indigenous lands, and US imperialism without seeing the way that white supremacy leverages ableism to create a subjective other. A definition of disability justice stems from a collective of disabled queer women of color, including Patty Bird, Maya Mingus, and the United States movement. It is argued that disability justice takes a more comprehensive approach, going beyond securing rights for disabled people by recognizing the intersectionality of disabled people who belong to additional marginalized communities and addressing the fact that the disabled movement was mainly led by white disabled people. The movement around disability justice is an important area for discussion in relation to disability practice. However, I believe the emphasis upon prejudice and what is called ableism is misplaced. Neither it addresses the root causes of disableism adequately. Too often, ableism is reduced to be spoken of as the discrimination of and social prejudice against people with disabilities based on the belief that typical abilities are superior. This is an inadequate explanation and can lead to unhelpful collusion with biopsychosocial approaches toward disability. Despite having critical opinion of some of the concepts and cultural language around the movement for disability justice, I nonetheless view it as an important area to discuss in relation to disability practice due to its 10-man principle around the inclusion of people on marginalized on multiple fronts, many of the unanswered questions that exist. The underdevelopment of theory and practice and the shaping of a new disability practice could be explored via the deployment of these principles. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that, Bob. That's great. I was just closing the PowerPoint there. Thank you very much for that really important talk over the last 40 minutes, and you're perfectly in time. So we're going to continue this talk, this engagement today with a Q&A. So if we would like to ask questions via chat or directly to Bob, that's fine. So if people want to put on their videos, make it a bit more of a seminar friendly performance, that would be great and is always welcome. But if not, that's also fine as well. Just to let people know that the Q&A for CSSGJ seminars is being recorded. Who would like to ask the first question to Bob? Anyone got a first question? Andreas? Yeah.
Yeah, hi everyone. Thanks a lot, Bob, for the impressive presentation. In your own experience, so you talked a lot about the kind of fragmentations when it comes to resistance. Do you find that disability activists also find it difficult to connect with other left struggles of being incorporated? And if so, what would be your proposal to overcome these kind of fragmentations and perhaps also gaps?
Yeah, I mean, I've been involved in activism, both within the disability field, but also mainstream politics. And one of my criticism of the left is, as I said in my presentation, they have this idea of the ideal worker that tends to be white, male, and manual. So they cut out all the other kind of worker that exists. Add to this, there is a tendency, especially in Britain, that a lot of the left don't necessarily come from a Marxist tradition, but more a Christian socialist background. For example, people like Jeremy Corbyn, in my opinion, has that tendency. And what that tends to produce is what we in the disabled people movement call a paternalistic way of working. Therefore, the left what to do for us rather than I engage. And over the past 25 years, we've had struggle to convince campaigns like the People Assembly to actually include us, to actually see disability as a political issue and not within the dominant narrative of having something wrong with someone or someone needing care. And that is particularly difficult around the issue of social support, and it's still bigger belief that the left still accept that it's okay to put older people into residential care, cut off from the rest of society. Therefore, I think we need to construct a new framework that understands social relations that are based on this notion of normality. I think normality is one of the biggest barriers to moving forward on a political front.
Thanks for that, Bob. Andreas?
Thank you.
Ariana, you've got a question, I see?
Yes, thank you so much, Bob, for a wonderful talk, and it's exciting to hear all these amazing insights. And yeah, and I loved your book as well. But I think my question is about what you see as the possible contribution that a disability justice approach can make to approaching rest as a site of struggle. So basically, just for you, if you can say more about what you think about that possible relation. Thanks.
Okay, first of all, I think what's positive about the movement is that it is no longer simply facing the issue of gaining rights. Okay, I think none of us would oppose us gaining or maintaining civil and human rights. But one of the weaknesses is that we have not promoted alternative lifestyles. We have not looked at intersectionality as a way of addressing oppression, and there's a tendency to conflate oppression and discrimination. And why I give that backdrop is that I think the disabled people movement, both in Britain and in worldwide, in our desire to move away from the imposed individual tragedy approach that sees everything as what is wrong with us as individuals. We've shied away from talking about impairment reality and talking about alternative lifestyle. Therefore, what I think the disability justice movement has done in America is put that back on the agenda by actually saying that our lives and our lifestyle are meaningful, and that we should not accept anymore the comparisons with non-impaired or non-disabled people. And by that, I think we can start to challenge the hegemony of the medical profession over our lifestyle, and in fact, the way we want to take control over our own impairment realities.
Thank you for that, Bob. I see Ruth has a hand up. If you'd like to go ahead, people are also free to ask questions in the chat, etc. Over to you, Ruth.
Yeah, thank you so much. Definitely at first, I would like to say it was such a wonderful and insightful presentation by Bob. Thank you so much. So I have started studying about disability, especially its influence at workplace and so on very recently. And I must admit that my base of knowledge is not that solid. In the presentation, I have noticed that, Bob, you have mentioned that there is this absence of a social model of impairment, which has a profound impact upon disability politics. So I was wondering, like, how this, the social model of impairment would be different than the existing social model of disability. What would be the key distinctions between these two models? If you could just say it, that would be great. Thank you so much.
So, the social model of disability is about looking at exploring where the social restrictions are imposed by society and what mechanism we need to put in place to remove those social restrictions. Obviously, as a Marxist, I would say the overthrow of capitalism is the ultimate aim. But it's different in the focus. And you talk about work, and work is probably one of the biggest areas where impairments and ill health are created. So what a simple model of impairment will look at, I think, is three areas. One is what I call impairment production. Look at what creates impairment. From the majority are not natural, they are social in origin. Secondly, where the social model of disability looks at our layer, what a social model of impairment will look at is how we can make sense in a non-judgmental way about what does it mean to live with impairment. Someone called Carol Thomas talked about impairment effect as a relationship between the person in their social environment. I'm not happy about that concept because as someone who lived for 73 years with an impairment. I've no idea what its effect is on me. I understand the reality of it, and what I mean by that, I know what is knowable, but the effect of my impairment is determined not by itself alone, but all kind of other factors. So I'm a social model of impairment, actually looking more at the low relational impact. It will look also at self-care for people in terms of their own impairment realities, thus taking it out of that medicalisation approach.
Thanks for that, Bob. Have we got any other questions? I've certainly got a question. If I can abuse chair's privileges, I will do then. Bob, just a question about clearly you're influenced by Gramsci to some extent and various Gramscian concepts. Talk to me a bit about the process of constructing a kind of a counter hegemony. What counter hegemony means in this project, and how we can go about achieving that.
Okay, well, the basic dominant idea of disability is that there is something wrong with us, that we're inferior, and therefore, from that basis, any social restriction we face is caused directly by the nature and degree of impairment itself. As I just said, I don't accept that is a direct cause of disabled people's social disadvantage. So the counter culture is to shift the focus away from what is wrong with a person or a group of people toward what is wrong with society. It is also about actually accepting, and this is the dialectics involved. We may want to prevent certain conditions that lead to impairment, but at the same time value the lifestyle and life of people who are impaired. For doing that, we have developed our own way of seeing who and what we are. We value our own existence. I don't want to be normal. I don't know what normal is. And most people who think they're normal, I don't want to be like there is anyway. So that kind of challenging the value of the concept of perspective that then leads to a counter hegemonic position where we can say we are proud to be who and what we are. There are differences within the movement about what disability culture is. I won't go into that here and now, but to me, I see disability culture as a culture that is based on rejecting everything that is created that disabling situation for people with impairment.
Thank you for that, Bob. So we've got a couple of questions coming in the chat, and I can see that Sarah Kumar has a hand up, but I'll go to this chat really quick, and then I'll make sure to do another round of questions. So Ruth Hassan, hi. Quickly want to ask whether the slides will be shared. Yes, they will be shared, and the talk will be going up to YouTube after this. Anna, thank you very much for the interesting talk and discussion. I've missed the first talk. My question is, what support do trade unions provide to tackle discrimination at work for disabled people?
That is a very good question. Over the years, there have been a shift. In the 1990s, I believe we did have a very good working relationship with the trade union movement through the trade union Congress, and we also set up what was called the Trade Union Disability Alliance that brought together trade unionists who were disabled from various trade unions, and we tried to work with the TUC and develop policies, and we had conferences, and we had regular meetings. However, over the years, we have seen less and less support, as I think we've seen a shift to the right within the trade union movement. And to be honest, my own trade union I was in, I'm afraid I've broken all relationship with them, because in my view, they've sold out to the employers on the issue of social care, and they put the social interest of their members above the interest of disabled and older people. So at the moment, it isn't a good relationship, and there are certain unions like Unite who are slightly better than others, but it is not a healthy relationship whatsoever.
Cheers, Bob. Sarah Bajaya, did I see your hand up? Yeah. Over to you.
Yes, thank you very much, Oliver. Thank you so much for your talk, Bob. It was given much food for thought. I'm a woman with heritage from the global majority and have acquired my impairments in the last decade or so. So I'm legally blind and can't see anyone on this call, and also motorised wheelchair user, and I'm also an academic, a scholar activist, you might say. One of the things that I've been trying to do since acquiring my impairments is really taking a disability justice lens because of my intersectional positionality, to try and, what can I say, educate non-disabled colleagues. And I wondered how, and I agree with you, by the way, about trade unions, but I just wondered how we can do this so we're not really talking in a kind of echo chamber to other disabled activists, or, you know, what is your advice to someone like me who's really pushing against not a very open door and not managing to get very low hanging fruit? It's quite a challenge. So I'd love your perspective and your advice on that. Thank you.
I mean, it is difficult at the moment, and you know, just talking personally for a moment. Obviously, I'm getting on with that. My energy levels are not what they were, and I'm struggling to be positive because out there is pretty grim. Within the book, what I started with today is we have lost ground. Many people don't understand disability as a political issue, and so many disabled people, even those who have got certain power, like yourself, are not in a position whereby we are in dialogue, not only with each other, but as a bridge into the mainstream. And what I've been arguing in my book and elsewhere for the past decade is that we do BCODP with the umbrella organisation of disabled people organisation. They are few and far between now, not just because of the politics, but the money to fund the organisation is just not there. So how can we self-organise if we haven't got the means to do that? And even though things like you have got some benefits, it has also got disabling features to it as well. So I think what we have to do is try and generate new dialogue around the issues that we face. And what I've been arguing is that with a general election coming up later in the year, I want to see a new platform created whereby disabled people and our allies come together, so all the disparate campaigns that are ongoing, that they can carry on doing what they're doing in their own right, but we need to come together on a platform to highlight the priorities we have, because one of the biggest disabling barriers we encounter is invisibility and our voicelessness. No one is listening to what we are saying. No one is familiarizing themselves with our issues, and we have to start to find ways of disrupting mainstream society so we become visible, so that our voices can be heard. And that requires a collective coming together to make that possible. I'm afraid that's the best I can give you.
Thank you.
Cheers, Bob. Andy, did I see your hand up?
It was briefly, but Bob, last response was really addressing what I was asking. Sarabaya's question was on point, really, for me as well. I mean, Bob, you are really, hats off to you, because you do combine a very clear theoretical perspective with, a lifelong, presumably, praxis, basically. And you talked about this thing in the 1990s where there's a neoliberal assault. And from a distance, I kind of remember it, reports of people being tested and weights being put on their hands and all this kind of stuff. I mean, really sort of humiliating stuff, actually. And I mean, you did talk about sort of the demise of the movement, presumably after the resistance to that, because I remember there was a very strong resistance to it. So I just wanted to ask you kind of like two related questions really round there, which is, so that people are excluded from work, but this attempt to get people in work, did some people actually have to go to work, and what happened to them? Is this what you're talking about with the trade unions? And sort of like, so the inferior status actually carries over into the workplace, right? And just to sort of like, I know it's quite internal sort of question, but you did talk about demise of the movement, and maybe you've already covered it. But I mean, to me, it sounds more like almost like a liberation movement type issue, right? Of oppressed people who clearly the strength is in uniting against the oppression. So the movement model which you're putting forward sounds much more like a liberation movement type thing, to be honest, right? Yeah.
Well, so that is why I talk about emancipation. I mean, I think the word liberation has got confused. There's so many different meanings. So what I'm saying very quickly is from the 1970s, when I first got involved, the main focus of ideas and action began with people who were in institutions. Therefore, the social model is about escaping from the institution to be part of mainstream society, and therefore looking at what it is that prevents us from doing that. And that, I would argue, was the main focus through the 70s affiliated. But then we get a piece of irony that is just as disabled people were being organised, we get the onset of neoliberalism. And I argue in my book, the disabled people movement, not in any formal way, actually ideologically and politically split, right? Because I've always argued for civil and human rights as a means to an end. But I would argue that the more right-wing accommodist element within the disabled people movement began to go down the rights movement road of rights being the way of achieving whatever outcomes we can have. I believe that weakened the argument that you correctly said. It's about transforming society, not simply have a right to exist. So what we see with the advent of neoliberalism is they want to destroy the welfare state. They want self-reliance, and they want to promote individualism. So while the individual tragedy model hasn't disappeared, it has been twisted. So what you began to get from 1980 onward is the idea, look at the ability, not the disability. Therefore, you get the whole Schlesinger narrative is if you can nod your head, you can work. Kind of argument. But of course, they never put the resources to enable disabled people to actually enter the workplace. And the workplace itself is designed to serve the needs of capital and not labour. So that is why you've got this twisted dialectic where people want to be part of something. That is on the one hand keeping them out, but on the other hand trying to get them in because they don't want to support them through any welfare provision. So it's a real complexity, and by talking simply about rights and inclusion without actually establishing what we mean by inclusion, we actually end up in a very dangerous view of accommodation rather than emancipation.
Thanks a lot for that, Bob. Do we have any other questions? We've still got a bit of time for another question. If anyone has a question, Tony, yep.
Yeah. Hi, thank you. Okay. I'd like to ask Bob a question. I must confess, Bob, I wasn't aware of you and your work, and I'm until somebody suggested that we invite you to give a paper, and I'm very glad that they did. I've forgotten who it was, but I thought it was excellent, and I've got lots of things. See, my brain's fizzing a little bit. There's so many different things one could talk about. Just a comment, actually, before I ask my question on what Andy was just saying. It is ironic, isn't it, that being so interested in sort of the issue of exclusion of people who are labelled as being disabled, rightly or wrongly, that we're moving from that to a situation in which the Conservative Party is initiating a policy of enforced inclusion. But of course, the inclusion in question is inclusion in relationships of exploitation, which operate in wider capitalist society generally. So it's actually not that great to be included in that sense, I don't think. Anyway, that's my comment. My question is this. Many years ago, before I became an academic, I worked in a mental hospital, and I was very interested at that time as a young man in the politics of mental illness, the anti-psychiatry movement. And I read a lot of R.D. Laing and Thomas Szasz, The Myth of Mental Illness, and people like Foucault, of course, basically the anti-psychiatry movement. And some of the things you were saying about disability struck me as being strikingly similar to the arguments which are used by the people who are involved in the anti-psychiatry movement in the 1960s and 70s. The idea of the sort of naturalization or the medicalization of mental illness, which they thought, of course, was a sociological construct, a socio-political construct. So I'm not familiar with your written work, and it may well be that you do actually talk about this. Please tell me if you do. But have you addressed this issue? Have you made sort of connections of that kind with the anti-psychiatry movement?
Not in the book, because Pluto only allowed me 87 words, and though that sounds a lot, it isn't really. But if I could have, I would have thought more about the fact that the disabled people movement and disability policy have been mainly around physical impairment. And even though that is the case, from day one in the 70s, it was recognised commonalities and differences that exist with the survival movement and with people with learning difficulties or disabilities. In recent times, we've also had the emergence of a neurodiversity community. There are some overlaps around autism, and one of the biggest differences, which I've not really explored, is that just like deaf people, as those who see themselves as a cultural minority, do not see deafness as an impairment, but as a natural state of being, as does the neurodiversity community. So you've got a certain tension that exists there, and there are some disabled people in America who have also started to go down that direction as well. So I think there are problematical areas of conflict and debate, and that is yet another issue of disability dialectics, because if we are just different, then what is the basis on which we are oppressed? Because to me, there's who we are, and then there's how we see. And often those two things are in conflict, even I would argue in their own heads. I'm trying to work on a project at the moment that is looking at disabled people in film and television drama. I'm saying, who the hell am I looking at? What am I expecting to see on television as a disabled person? And I'm starting to realize I don't know. I don't know.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that, Bob. I'm sure I speak on behalf of everybody here to say how such an important and insightful talk it was. Thank you very much for your time, and I'm sure more than a couple of us here will be looking forward to reading your book in the near future. That's been published only recently with Pluto Plus. So yeah, on behalf of the CSSGJ, really thank you for coming to give this talk today. It's been a pleasure for me and for other people to listen to you.
Thank you for inviting me.
Cheers, Bob. All the best, everybody. We've got another CSSGJ talk coming up in 2 weeks, same time. So look forward to seeing you, some of you then. All the best.
Thanks a lot. Bye.